My name is Lacey Sumrall. I'm 28 years old, and for a long time, I believed love was about compromise. Not sacrifice, not silence, not slowly draining your savings account while convincing yourself you're being supportive. But that's exactly what I did. I work as a systems analyst. It's a solid job, good pay, benefits, predictable hours. I've always been careful with money. I plan ahead. I save. I pack lunch instead of ordering out. I drive a car until it truly can't be driven anymore. Financial stability isn't just something I want, it's how I sleep at night. That's probably why I didn't notice right away when my boyfriend started leaning on that stability a little too hard. I met Evan at a backyard barbecue thrown by mutual friends. He was easy to like, funny, relaxed, the kind of guy who made conversations feel effortless. We exchanged numbers, went on a few casual dates, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. 6 months later, he floated the idea of moving in together. It just makes sense, he said. We'll save money. I believed him. Looking back, that should have been my first pause. When we started apartment hunting, everything felt normal at first. We toured places together, talked about layouts, imagined how we'd decorate. But somewhere along the way, the conversations shifted. It stopped being what we want and slowly turned into what works best for Evan. The apartment we ended up choosing? I found it. The lease? Only in my name. Evan told me his credit was a little rough right now. Temporary issues, old stuff. He promised he'd get added once things improved. Spoiler alert, that never happened. The internet bill was in my name. Electricity, mine. Gas, water, trash. Renter's insurance, streaming services. All me. At first, he sent me his half every month. Just enough consistency to make me feel secure, just enough effort to make me believe this was temporary. Then the messages started changing. I'm a little short this month. I'll catch you next time. I thought we were a team. Why are you keeping score? That one stung. Evan made around $40,000 a year, working retail management. He wasn't broke, but he had a talent for spending money on things that absolutely did not matter. New clothes constantly, brunch with friends multiple times a week at places that charge way too much for eggs, random subscription boxes full of junk he barely opened, online shopping deliveries piled up by the door like we were running a warehouse. Once, he bought a $300 espresso machine because he wanted to save money by making coffee at home while still stopping at Starbucks twice a day. Meanwhile, I was packing my lunch and driving a 7-year-old sedan, trying to build a future that apparently only one of us was planning for. And then there was Lena, Evan's female best friend. According to him, they were basically siblings, friends since college. Nothing romantic, nothing to worry about. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But Lena had a way of inserting herself into our lives that felt off. She texted Evan late at night, showed up unannounced, sat a little too close, laughed a little too hard, touched his arm when she talked, played with his hair like it was second nature. The first time I mentioned it, Evan laughed. You're overthinking it, he said. That's just how Lena is. That phrase became his favorite. That's just how Lena is. I told myself I was being insecure. I told myself trust meant letting things go. I told myself love meant not making a big deal out of small discomforts. What I didn't realize was that I was slowly being trained to ignore my own instincts. And I definitely didn't realize how expensive that silence was about to become. After Lena became a regular presence in our lives, my apartment stopped feeling like my home. At first, it was small things. She'd just be in the neighborhood and stop by without warning. Evan would text me halfway through my workday. Lena's here, BTW. Not, is it okay if Lena comes over? Not, do you mind if she hangs out for a bit? Just a statement, like the weather. When I got home, she'd already be sprawled across the couch, shoes kicked off, drink in hand, laughing like she lived there. Sometimes she'd already eaten, food I'd bought, groceries I paid for. Once I walked in and found her rearranging our throw pillows. Oh, this looks way better, she said cheerfully, like she was doing me a favor. I smiled tightly and told myself not to be weird about it. That became the theme of my life. Don't be weird, don't be dramatic, don't be controlling. Then I found out Evan had given her a key. I didn't even learn about it from him. One afternoon, I came home early with a pounding headache, craving silence. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, only to hear the shower running. I froze. Evan wasn't home. A minute later, Lena walked out of the bathroom in a towel, startled when she saw me. Oh, hey, she said casually. Didn't know you'd be home. I stood there, stunned. Why do you have a key? She blinked. Evan didn't tell you? Apparently not. When I confronted him later, he shrugged like it was nothing. It's for emergencies, he said. Emergencies like what? I asked. He hesitated. Stuff. The emergencies, I soon learned, included her wanting to crash on the couch because she didn't feel like driving home, or needing a quiet place to work, or just being bored. Her apartment was 20 minutes away. I tried to talk to Evan about it, calmly, carefully, choosing my words like they were landmines. I just think some boundaries would help, I said one night. This is our home. His smile disappeared instantly. Why are you being so jealous? He asked. I'm not jealous. I'm uncomfortable. Same thing, he snapped. If you trusted me, this wouldn't be an issue. There it was, the trust card. The one that automatically made me the villain for having feelings. So I backed down, again. But Lena's presence only intensified. She started coming over 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Always with an excuse, always welcomed without question. Evan never asked me if it was okay. He just assumed it was. One night I came home exhausted after a brutal day at work. I opened the door and stopped short. They were on the couch together, watching a rom-com. Lena was curled up against him, her legs tucked under her, his arm resting along the back of the couch, far too close for comfort. They both looked annoyed when they saw me, like I'd interrupted something important. Hey, babe, Evan said, not moving. Lena's staying for dinner. Not a question. A decision. I ordered pizza because I wasn't cooking for someone who treated my home like a free lounge. The entire time, they laughed over inside jokes, stories from college I'd never heard, memories I wasn't part of. I sat there in my own living room, feeling like a third wheel. At one point, Lena reached over, grabbed the remote out of my hand, and changed the channel. We've been watching your stuff all week, Evan said when I protested. My stuff, my apartment, my electricity. That night, after Lena finally left close to midnight, I tried again. This isn't working, I said quietly. She's here more than I am. Evan sighed dramatically. Why do you hate my friends so much? I don't hate your friends. I need boundaries. You're being controlling, he said flatly. That word landed like a slap. Controlling. I went to bed feeling small, guilty, and confused, wondering how I'd become the bad guy for wanting basic respect in a home I paid for. What I didn't know yet was that Evan wasn't done pushing, and Lena wasn't done settling in. Not even close. The night everything finally broke, I remember thinking how tired I was. Not just physically, though I was exhausted, but emotionally. The kind of tired that settles deep in your bones, where even speaking feels like work. Work had been brutal that day. A system outage, panicked clients, my manager hovering over my shoulder like I was personally responsible for the chaos. By the time I got home, it was nearly 8. All I wanted was quiet, food, and my couch. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, and stopped. Lena was standing in the hallway, toweling off her hair, wearing gym shorts and one of Evan's old t-shirts. Her hair was wet. Her cheeks were flushed like she'd just stepped out of my shower. Oh, hey, she said brightly. Hope you don't mind. The showers at my gym are broken. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I looked past her into the living room. Evan was sprawled on the couch, scrolling on his phone like this was the most normal thing in the world. I felt something snap. You used our shower? I asked. Lena shrugged. I was already here. Already here. I turned to Evan. You didn't think to ask me? He didn't even look up. It's just a shower, Lacey. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. I asked him to talk in the bedroom. He sighed loudly, like I was asking for a favor, but followed me. Behind us, Lena helped herself to a soda from the fridge and flopped back onto the couch. In the bedroom, I closed the door and finally let myself breathe. This has to stop, I said. I'm not comfortable with her being here constantly, and I'm definitely not okay with her using our bathroom. Evan's face hardened. Why do you hate my friends? I don't. I hate that one specific friend treats my apartment like a crash pad and you act like it's normal. Because it is normal, he said. You're projecting your insecurities onto a completely innocent friendship. The gaslighting was almost impressive. I'm setting a boundary, I said firmly. Lena can visit, but she can't be here all the time. And she absolutely cannot use our shower whenever she wants. If you're going to be this controlling, he said coldly, maybe we need to rethink living together. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I'm controlling because I don't want your female friend showering in my apartment? You're trying to dictate who I can see. That's not what this is, and you know it. We went back and forth for 20 minutes. Nothing resolved. He stormed out. I slept on the couch in the apartment I paid for. The next few days were tense. Evan barely spoke to me. The silence should have felt peaceful, but it felt like punishment. And then Lena showed up again. A week later, I walked in and saw her sitting on the couch with a duffel bag at her feet. What's that? I asked. Oh, Evan said casually from the kitchen. Lena's staying over tonight. My stomach dropped. Staying over? She has an early meeting nearby. Easier if she crashes here. I looked at Lena. She didn't even look up from her phone. No, I said. Both of them froze. Excuse me? Evan snapped. No, she's not staying here. You're serious right now? He said. Dead serious. Lena finally looked up. I'll just sleep on the couch. It's not a big deal. I don't care if you sleep in a tent, I said. You're not staying. Evan grabbed my arm and pulled me into the bedroom. What is your problem? He hissed. My problem is you invited someone to sleep in my apartment without asking me. This is my place too. I met his eyes. Your name isn't on the lease. That did it. His face flushed red. Are you really throwing that in my face? You've had 2 years to fix your credit and get added. You didn't, because you like having all the benefits without responsibility. I can't believe you're keeping score like this. Partners split things equally, I said. Partners don't invite their opposite-sex best friend to sleep over without a conversation. That's when he said it. If you don't like it, he snapped, maybe you should move out. The room went silent. I stared at him, waiting for him to take it back. He didn't. Something inside me clicked into place. Okay, I said calmly. His anger flickered into confusion. What? Okay, I'll move out. That's not what I meant. You were very clear, I said. This isn't working. I should leave. I walked out, grabbed my keys, and left without another word, past Lena, who suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. That night, I stayed with my best friend Maya, who listened quietly as I told her everything. When I finished, she handed me a glass of wine and said, You know what you have to do, right? I nodded. That night, I made a list. Every bill, every account, every dollar. And I finally saw the truth in black and white. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was sad, but because my mind wouldn't slow down. For the first time in a long time, everything was painfully clear. When you strip away the excuses, the gaslighting, the you're overreacting, what's left is the math. And the math was ugly. By sunrise, I had a list in my notes app that made my stomach turn. Rent, $1,750. Internet, $85. Electricity, $120 on average. Gas, $60. Water and trash, $45. Renter's insurance, $25. Then the extras Evan never even thought about. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon Prime. Just under $2,000 a month. All me. I stared at the number and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Anger. Clean, sharp anger. Not the explosive kind. The focused kind. Maya looked over my shoulder while I was making coffee. Lacey, she said quietly, he was subsidizing his entire life with your paycheck. I nodded. Not anymore. I called out of work and told my manager I had a personal emergency. That wasn't a lie. My relationship had collapsed, and I was finally doing CPR on my sanity. First stop, the bank. I canceled the auto pay for rent. The lease was month to month, rent due on the 1st. It was the 28th. Perfect timing. The teller asked if everything was okay. I'm moving, I said. Fresh start. Next, the internet provider. I need to cancel my service effective immediately. There was a pause. May I ask why? I moved out. Not a lie. Electric company next, then gas, then water. Each call felt like setting down a weight I'd been carrying on my back for 2 years. Each confirmation email felt like a quiet reclaiming of myself. After that, I changed every password. Streaming services, music apps, shopping accounts. If Evan wanted entertainment, he could finally pay for it himself. Then came the move. I waited until I knew Evan would be at work, and Lena, thankfully, wasn't around. Maya showed up with her brother and 2 friends. No drama, no speeches, just boxes and efficiency. That's when something else became very clear. Almost everything in that apartment was mine. The TV, mine. The couch, mine, paid off in monthly installments. The bed frame and mattress, mine. Kitchen appliances, mine. Dishes, pots, pans, knife set, mine. Evan's contributions? A mismatched bookshelf and an old armchair his mom gave him. By mid-afternoon, the apartment looked unrecognizable, empty, echoing, stripped of comfort. In the bedroom, we took the good mattress and left his ancient twin from college storage. In the kitchen, I left the bare minimum. 1 pan, 1 pot, a few plates. Enough to survive. Not enough to pretend. Before I left, I placed my keys on the counter with a single note. You told me to move out. I did. Good luck. I took photos, videos, timestamps, covered myself from every angle. When I walked out for the last time, I didn't cry. I felt light. That evening, my phone started blowing up. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. At first, Evan sounded confused, then angry, then panicked. Did you seriously take the TV? This is so immature. How am I supposed to cook? We need to talk. I didn't respond. I blocked his number. Around dinner, Maya's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and smirked. It's Evan. She put it on speaker. Where's Lacey? He demanded. She moved out, Maya said calmly. She took everything. She took her things, Maya replied. You told her to leave. There was silence on the line. Then his voice cracked. The landlord says rent wasn't paid. Maya looked at me. I nodded. Sounds like a you problem, she said, and hung up. That night, the power went out in that apartment. The internet followed shortly after. And for the first time since I met Evan, I went to bed knowing I had chosen myself. The fallout was immediate and loud. The next morning, I woke up to a string of notifications I didn't even bother opening. Evan had tried emailing me, then messaging me through a shared Google Doc, then, somehow, my work email. I ignored all of it. Curiosity got the better of me around noon, though. I checked my spam folder and found a message from him sent at 6:42 a.m. Lacey, please. The internet is gone. The power shut off this morning. I can't work from home. The landlord is saying rent is overdue. I don't have that kind of money right now. You didn't have to do this. Didn't have to do this. I stared at the screen for a long moment and felt nothing. No guilt, no satisfaction, just distance. I called the leasing office instead. Hi, I said calmly. This is Lacey Sumrall, leaseholder for Unit 314. I moved out 2 days ago and need to submit my 30-day notice. There was a pause, keyboard clicking. And Evan Brooks? The manager asked. Not on the lease, I replied. Understood. Rent is still due today. Late fees apply after 5. Perfect. By mid-afternoon, the messages escalated. Evan's friends, then his sister, then, predictably, Lena. She called from a blocked number. I answered. Lacey, she said, breathless. This is insane. Evan's freaking out. You left him with nothing. I laughed softly. No, Lena, I left him with exactly what he paid for. She scoffed. He didn't think you'd actually leave. That's not my problem. You're being cruel. No, I said, I'm being done. I hung up and blocked the number. Later that evening, Maya showed me a screenshot from social media. Evan had posted a vague plea asking if anyone could help him cover rent due to an unexpected breakup. The comments were not kind. Didn't you just post photos from a concert last week? Maybe ask your best friend who basically lived there. Wild how consequences work. The best part? Lena was nowhere to be found. Apparently, when Evan asked her if she could help with rent, just temporarily, she told him she was going through a lot and stopped replying. Funny how quickly family disappears when the bill comes due. Over the next few weeks, I learned the rest through mutual friends. Evan borrowed money from his parents to avoid eviction. They weren't gentle about it. He moved out 2 months later when the rent increased and his credit check failed. Last I heard, he was back in his childhood bedroom, still working retail, still blaming me for overreacting. As for me, I moved into a small studio across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful. $1,100 a month. Quiet, mine. For the first time in years, my savings account started growing. I slept better, went to the gym again, got a raise at work, reconnected with friends I'd slowly drifted from while managing someone else's chaos. 2 months later, I met Daniel at a friend's game night. He paid his own bills, had boundaries, asked before inviting people over. On our third date, I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "You didn't go nuclear. You followed through." That was the moment I knew I'd learned something important. Love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself so someone else can stay comfortable. Boundaries aren't threats. They're instructions. And when someone ignores them, you don't argue louder. You leave.